Uh,
Attorney Nathaniel Lee, a lawyer with credibility, success, and experience, representing people in hundreds of jury trials. Nathaniel Lee is who you want by your side in the courtroom. You've seen the rest, now hire the best. Contact Lee, Cosell, and Feigley today. And now, to address the legal concerns of the community, Praise AM 1310, 95.1 FM, presents Legally Speaking. Here are hosts.
good morning, everyone. We have one of my guests trying to log in, the head of the interdenomination, Pastor Rush, but maybe he'll be figured out later. Hello, everyone. This is Nathaniel Lee. We have our superstar panel today, Attorney Milton Grimes and Attorney Vanita Banks. Got an exciting show today, and we getting close to the election and a big issue that the bombshell will debate. But before we talk about that part of it, we had a couple local issues to deal with. We have the apparently takeover of the prosecutor's office in LA, which is one of the largest cities on the planet, but certainly one of the biggest metro districts in the country, and then also Chicago. So we'll start with Attorney Banks about the registration process up in the Chicago area. What's going on in terms of voter registration in your state, and when did you start early voting?
Early voting starts here in the Chicagoland area on September 26th, and we have one of the most progressive voter registration and voting laws in the nation, where you can register up to and on election day. However, we do not recommend that. First, we are here in Illinois. We are emphasizing and stressing that you check your registration status today, and you want to check it at least weekly and on the day of registration, because we do know in some states, and Illinois, we don't have to worry about this, but never say never, that hundreds of thousands of voter registrations are being purged from the books. And so it is imperative that you check your voter registration status on a weekly basis. Also, for example, if you live in an apartment complex and you may have moved from one unit to another unit, you need to update your voter's registration. So keep that in mind as well.
Hey, counsel, what is a good plan for people you think, like here, what I do here in Indianapolis is that I call all my relatives, like my kids, and we all go vote. I try to vote on the first day of early vote, which will be 30 days before the election. You know, we use on our lunch break, and we go over and vote in every election early. We just kind of plan it. And so I want to have my vote in early, because I'm never here on election day. I try to take a trip somewhere to get away from the stress of it. But and that's what we do, and we've done that ever since my kids were 18 years old. We all go as a family to vote, and it works very well. You know, we take some pictures and then we post it on the internet, you know, each time. What do you think is a good idea for your area?
Attorney Lee, you just stated several excellent approaches to voting. And I think it's so important this year that every year, to your point, we must each have a voting plan. And we should talk to our friends, our neighbors that may be physically challenged, and ensure that they have transportation to the polls. but you definitely need a plan and start now for election day to determine what time you're going to go to vote. You're going in the morning, the afternoon, who you're going to take with you. And you definitely need to have a plan. And by the end of this call, I'm going to provide in the chat box and Attorney Lee to our callers, if you encounter any problems at the polls, what number, what national number you should call to get those problems fixed, because we have a very strong election protection program initiative in place where we have lawyers across the country that will address any issue that you may have with voting on election day. So I'll be providing that number on the call.
Attorney Grimes, what plans do you recommend for the people on the West Coast for early voting?
Well, like Vanita said at the beginning, we got to check our registrations every week, if not daily. That's ridiculous, it sounds like, because we never had to go through anything like that before. So it's a new task, and it is a task because I'm not that well versed in social media, so I got to do that physically. You follow me? So yeah. I just believe we have to raise to a conscious level that we never have before in history to exercise our right to vote, because there's a mass plan in existence to disenfranchise this voting right of ours, Nate, from actually voting to voting and then the vote not being counted. There's an old saying that it's not he who vote that counts, it's he who count the votes that count. And we're in a serious situation where our vote may not be counted. So I just don't know anything other than to make sure you get a verification of your vote when you do it, whether you vote early or whether you go down there to the voting precinct and vote. You got to make sure you're registered, and the day of the vote is maybe too late.
Okay, Pastor Russ, he is head of our Ministerial Alliance, and Pastor Russ, he's taking the bull by the horn. Tell us about the voter registration. First, in order to vote, you got to be registered, like the lawyers are saying. So, Pastor Russ, you want to tell us what are we doing here locally in Indianapolis? What you got going on, sir? You need to unmute now. Pastor Russ, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes. Hello.
Okay,
Hello?
Pastor. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes,
you're live.
All right. Thank you. Well, Brother Nate, as usual, you're on the case. And I think that we have been shaken up considerably since June the 27th and that last debate, but I think we were lifted the other day when your fellow baroness got on the stage with Donald John Trump and spoke eloquently about saving this Madisonian democracy, and inspires us. And so therefore, a number of our organizations here, NAACP, Urban League, my group, the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, Telemundo, the Walker Building, the Walker Center, and as they say, a good legal term, Lottie Dottie and everybody. We coming together to push the vote here in Indiana. 6 million people in Indiana. The dynamics of this church state have changed. Barack Obama won this state in 2008, and since then, we have lost considerably. Bill Crawford was our House Ways and Means chairman, which meant that the Democrats had 50 plus. They only have 30 now, and in the House of Representatives, and only have 10 as senators. we're at a place where we cannot elect our own judges in Indianapolis. Indianapolis is the largest city in Indiana. Of all of the cities in Indiana, the 11th largest city in the country, but this is the one place that we cannot elect our own judges, Marion County here and Lake County. So that tells us that we got work to do. So we're coming together as a collective to energize and, as we call it, rock the vote. We're getting pastors. When I was in undergrad, I pledged Kappa Alpha Psi. We're getting the Divine Nine. Kamala is AKA. We're getting the pastors. We're getting everyone, all these groups to come together to say, number one, many of us have Iliad mercenaries, and so we are 501c3s, and so therefore we cannot promote partisanism so much, but we can say we have a responsibility as citizens to vote. And we cannot, this is not the one to miss. We cannot miss this. We have someone who is saying that if they are elected, they're going to be a dictator on day one. I don't know whether you're kidding, but as a disabled veteran, as somebody of a family of 10 boys and 7 of us serve, that is not a laughing matter. That is not a kidding matter. There's some things you don't play with. You play with Tonka toys. You don't play with your government. You don't play with your democracy. And so we got all hands on deck, all hands on. I heard someone talk about just before I come in of having a plan for the vote. We're coming together. We're coming on the 27th of this month. The only black college in the state of Indiana is Martin University. We're going to gather at Martin University to push this vote. But before we get there, we bring in our aunties and our sisters and our in-laws and our outlaws and everybody else to say, get registered, have a plan for vote, and let's go and vote. So that's kind of what we're doing, Attorney.
Hey, Pastor, here's what I'd like to see happen. In order to have a program that covers the county, in my opinion, we need to have people at more than one location. I like to have people next that weekend at 50 locations, at the Kroger stores, at the place where people go. You know, we have to take this like our life depends on it, and actually it does, because we have not just the issue about dictatorship, but the person also has said that he's going to weaponize the Department of Justice, which means the FBI and stuff like that. So this is one of the consequential elections, the most consequential election since the Civil War. When you look at that project 2025, MAGA, Make America Great Again is code word, in my opinion, for let's go back to Jim Crow laws. Let's go back to slavery. See, because in other words, America now the greatest it's ever been. So when you say make America great again, it wasn't great for African Americans back in the, before the 60s and stuff, before we desegregated. We were denied many benefits of the American economy. So that's my thought process. And so I hope that you guys also get everybody together and look at multiple locations so we can hit everybody in the city. Indianapolis is 18% state population, and we need to get 18% of the statewide vote.
Well, you're absolutely right, and you know this. Well, first of all, there's just so much to talk about, but be assured that we're pushing on every side of Indianapolis. Black folks are 27% of the population of Indianapolis, but we're pushing the Hispanic vote. We're pushing the coalition that you see. It's very interesting. It's very interesting that the last 2 vice presidents for Donald John Trump is going to vote for somebody other than him, and one of them is getting ready to vote for this black woman, which is amazing to me. But our coalition is just as broad as that, and our territory is all over the place. From one side of our voting area to from the north side to the south side. I'm in the center of town right now, but we're covering the whole city with this effort, and we're also linking up with state NAACP, with people of the same mind. So you're absolutely correct. Right here with me is one of our pastors. He's a leader in the AME. We just had this meeting at my breakfast. We had an interdenominational alliance. Indianapolis has 5 churches domiciled in and around Indianapolis, Indiana. They have 5 churches of 5 different denominations: PAW, the Brethren, Disciples of Christ. All of those people are being contacted. All of them are with us, and so we're working. We're going to make sure we get on every side of town. This is a consequential election. You mentioned Project 2025. That's 922 pages of hell. But this is the 9th iteration of that. This is the 9th iteration. This thing started under Ronald Reagan. They gave him his marching orders, and they were supposed to do this for Donald John Trump to bring in, to fire everybody in the bureaucracy and get their own people. Are you out of your mind? We cannot sit back on the sideline and wait for that. As Maya Angelou said, if someone tell you who they are, believe them. I believe them. So we're out here, and we're going to make this happen. As I said, I have a pastor with me right now who is a leader in the AME church. We're reaching out to the PAW. We're reaching out to all the churches. We're reaching out to all the Ilya Mercenaries. We're reaching out all over the place because we want everyone. And the other issue, I think that if they have espoused Project 2025, I think when, and I'm going in your area now, when they, Roe versus Wade is going to be a big issue here. So my issue is, how do we go get Generation Z? How do we go get the young people? How do we mobilize them? And I'm encouraged by Kamala taking the lead to deal with and giving us that picture that there is a difference here that moves toward the future rather than the past. So that's where we are. So.
Well, thank you very much, Pastor. And thanks for joining us today. Thank you so much.
Please come out on the 27th. All right. Bless you.
Okay.
What a powerful message.
Yeah.
From
And
the
also,
today.
it's the 29th also, everyone. I think he misspoke. I think it's the 29th and when they had that organized. But anyway, it's going to be on the website. Yeah. Go ahead, Counselor.
I was just saying what a powerful message from the pastor today and the global effort in Indianapolis to collaborate with many organizations. I heard the NAACP, I heard the Divine Nine, the faith community. That's exactly what is needed to defend and protect our democracy, which is very much on the ballot on November 5th. And I just wanted to, and I put this in the chat box, that for any questions regarding voting in your state, please, including registration, absentee ballots or mail-in ballots, go to ourvote.org. Everything you need to know about voting, including registering the vote, checking your ballot, check your ballot before Election Day. When you go in to vote, understand what's going to be on your ballot and how it appears. Ourvote.org also will have the requirements to vote by mail, how to get election reminders. And if you're under voting age, you can pledge to register and they'll send you a reminder as soon as you turn age 18. So everything that you need, all things voting, can be found at ourvote.org.
Okay. There was only the next issue had to do with the presidential debate. It was watched by at least 67 million people. in the United States, 67 million. And we know the people in Russia and China and all those other countries are also watching this debate, you know. So I've watched the debate from start to finish, and I watched the political pundit to 3 o'clock in the morning. And I can tell you, Milton and Vanita, it reminds me, it was a thorough whooping, but there was something at the beginning of the debate everybody focused on was the handshake, which was critical, of course. She took command of the room. And as a trial lawyer, Milton, you know very well how important that psychodrama of that initial photograph is. But when she started out, Kamala did, I thought she was a little bit nervous. The first question they asked her, are we better off today than we were 4 years ago, right? That was the first question. Her response was she gave a good rendition of her entire platform. But I thought there was only one thing that was missing. I said, hell yeah, we're much better off today. 4 years ago, we had over 1,000 people down a day. The economy was shut down. We had the highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression. And by the way, Black unemployment reached like 17%. The stock market under our leadership is the highest it's ever been. So we have a $1.2 trillion infrastructure plan. We have roadways, bridges, all the communities hired. We have 7.5 million jobs that are unfilled in the country. 7.5 million. And we have the lowest unemployment rate in the history of America in this time. So in other words, when they were talking about, Republicans was talking about how bad the Biden administration is, they're like in the debate where one of the candidates started talking about eating dogs and cats and pets. I mean, I thought that that was such a racist type statement until I was glad that he got corrected right away. That's I thought was the most racist part, because now it gives white supremacists and bigots the opportunity to go out and openly attack a group of citizens who entered the country legally.
Legally, and they've now made them illegal entrants when they were invited here to go to that city, to revitalize that city and welcome. But all of a sudden they decided, well, we'll make them the source of the attack. We've got to get rid of them.
And we have to denounce that type of disinformation because it is dangerous rhetoric. We've seen schools being forced to shut down due to bomb threats because of that dangerous rhetoric. There has to be a way, not just to correct that rhetoric, that trash, it's not, we call it misinformation, disinformation, and we have, definitions for both, but it's outright lies. You cannot, to me, this is akin to crying fire in a crowded movie theater. There has to be some type of accountability. This is criminal behavior, in my opinion. What do you think, counselors?
Well, it's not new. It's an old playbook. I read this book some time ago called 13 Strikes. It's about the 1775 line to the public by Jefferson and Franklin and all of them, with a 2-page newspaper from Massachusetts on down the coast to Georgia, that the Black folks, the slaves, were rebelling against their masters and raping the young white girls and sodomizing the men, and the Native Americans were killing the territorial frontiersmen and drinking their blood. All lies, creating specific stories. The family of Jones or Smith were raped and tortured. All lies, so that they could band together the people in the 13 colonies to fight England, And that lying way it's the foundation of this country. So it's not new. It's not new. It just seems like, wow. But it's been here a while. It's been here a while, and it has been effective, y'all.
Excellent points, Attorney Grimes. I mean, we should wipe the terms misinformation and disinformation, off the face of the nation. They're just outright lies.
So, yeah. Vance's line about the Haitians, he created that lie, I understand from some reading this morning, and they just kept pushing it. All of a sudden,
it goes a little bit deeper than that. The severe right-wing people posted it on an internet site, and Laura Lumen, this woman who's hugging up to him every chance you get, the one who claimed that the 9/11 was a hoax, somehow he's got in bed with that group of people. And so they took something that was on an esoteric website, and without any verification, they made it part of a campaign. Mm-hmm. The danger, though, is the fact that this demagoguery is overt racial telephone or telepathic in terms of trying to telegram to people or to convey to people that these immigrants is taking over our country. And because they're taking over our country and your jobs and things like that, we should not vote for my opponent. So he's making this part of his political campaign outright racial bigotry. Make no mistake about it. When what they're doing is not just code, it's just outright racial bigotry. That's what it is. It's no different than calling people the N-word and otherwise, because he's saying that these people are eating dogs, cats, birds, whatever, which is just totally fabricated.
Lies.
Yeah, it's beyond a lie. They just take it and they keep repeating it.
And next state, when you hear that in your mind is, before you know it, they're going to be eating our babies and eating us.
Yeah, it's shameful.
Yeah. So what do we do, y'all?
Well, okay, one of the other issues in the debate, there was a lot of key points in the debate. The former President Donald Trump in the debate, there was something else profound when they got the issue of abortion, right? And they asked him point blank, will you agree to sign a ban on nationwide abortion? Do you guys remember that response?
He ducked it, didn't he?
Yeah.
I remember that there was no response, that he hedged on that.
That's correct. And then the commentator came back and fact checked him and said, well, J.D. Vance said you were signing. And then he threw J.D. Vance under the bus. He said, well, I've not talked about that, blah, 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 blah. I'm thinking, well, here's the real issue. I think the issue is much bigger than what they're saying about abortion. It goes back to historical what happened in our country. J.D. Vance said that women without children should have less voting rights than women with children or people with children. But it goes back to the 1900s when women under, I think what was the 19th Amendment was first given the right to vote. Because when we look at the history of our country, there was something that's a stark reality. That is that the Jim Crow laws got started back as what happened in Louisiana when the Crew case gave the murderers, white supremacists, the right to kill black males who were just trying to vote. And that led to the Jim Crow laws and segregation and oppression on black folks. And it was a Supreme Court decision, right? So when you look at what they're doing now, is that he's saying that this group of people are not really human beings. They're out to take what we have. And so it's just not just fear, it's just appalling in terms of how they get away with that. And the fact that the national media don't call him out for what he's doing. The national media don't fact check him like they did on ABC. Lindsay Davis was local broadcaster here. I think that she's done the best job of any of the people that hosted the president's debate since I've been alive. She was just outstanding.
Why it is you think the national media don't check him more, Nate, and tell the truth about him more? Do you think that that's the rich or the people who own the national media? not nailing down or hammering down on his lack of credibility? What is it? Because it does not seem as though they are attacking his untruthfulness and lies to the degree that they should for the benefit of the American public.
I don't know. Let's go to Pierre Pullins. He's opinionated. What do you think, Pierre? I know you got an opinion, so what is it?
Oh, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, good morning, all. Just some thoughts. Well, you know, we're going to have another commission into the media and what they're doing. I know there was a commission back in the church commission back in the 70s. They got into that, and then they went into closed door session about media relations with the FBI and the CIA. So that needs to be looked at again. But at any rate, I thought I'm glad Trump brought up the dogs and the animals and all of that, because it just shows what kind of person he is. And I thought it would help move a lot more people who were, you know, middle of the road or whatever. I think that moved it into our column. So I think she's doing well. Now, Nate, here's what I want to drill down on, and I want to let Milton and Vanita know. We had and it goes to immigration. We had a young lady get killed last weekend getting off of her job late in the morning, keeping it real. She was a dancer, and she was getting off her job, and she caught an Uber ride home. And the Uber driver killed her. And there's all kinds of other heinous things that went along with that story. He shot her and did other things. But now here's the thing. What I want to know is, was this guy in this country illegally? And if he was, how did he get a gun too? And he was driving for Uber. One of the things that Vice President Harris has to do.
Hey, Pierre, let me answer that real quickly. Pierre.
Okay, here we go.
The answer to that is very simple. In order for him to get a driver's license, he has to have some type of citizenship, right? So, in other words, he would not have been able to get in there and driver's license, ergo get a contract with Uber without having a driver's license. So apparently he must be a citizen.
No, you can't assume that. There's all kinds of people here driving illegally, that are here illegally driving with these ride shares. Milton knows that. Vanita knows that. And I'm quite sure you should know that too, Nate. But here's the thing. Vice President Harris has to address immigration, and she has to walk a fine line. She's got to say she's going to be tough on immigration, but she's going to be fair. But every time these incidents happen, Trump latches on to this stuff, and this is one of the reasons why they're still in the game. And a lot of American people, a lot of Black people, a lot of people like me are concerned about this uncontrolled immigration. And this has to stop. I mean,
wait a second, let me fact check.
I don't think, Pierre, the data support your proposition that the immigrants, illegal or legal, are the major cause of crime in this country. I don't believe that. And this man can get a gun as easy as he can go down to the corner store and buy a soda pop. You got more guns in this country than people. They are plentiful. So, or he can make his own gun today. All he got to do is order the parts. You follow me? So having a gun is not a big thing in America.
And the second part about that also that's very important is that the crime in our country is not linked to immigration. Most of the people who are immigrants come into our country, they're looking for work, they're looking for a better life. most of the immigrants I know, they're hard workers. They're out there every day. And right now in our city, if you need a roofing job done, I mean, every time that we've hired roofers, it's been by immigrants. And so a lot of these jobs that are really, really hard labor type jobs, these are people just hard workers. They're looking for a better life. And so the other thing too that is very relevant about this, when Donald Trump was president, he controlled the House, the Senate, both, all three branches of government for 2 years. He said we would build a wall. He would solve the immigration problem. Well, you had just as many people coming into the country illegally under his administration that we do today. And so I think that you have to not spread this disinformation about immigrants because it was worse under his. And also, under Trump leadership, we had the worst violent crime in the history of America. We had mass shooting under Trump from Obama triple. Mass shooting in America tripled under Trump leadership. So the reason they run on this is that they are allowed to get away with spreading misinformation. The same as what Trump is doing now. He's saying that they asked him, well, where did you get the information about these people eating dogs and cats? Then he said, I saw it on TV. And Reverend Rush, you have a comment about that? I see you logged back on.
Yes, I do. This is my concern. We can't go down all these stupid rabbit holes. If you're talking about immigration, it seems to me that what J.D. Vance, what their dark corners of the internet, and what Donald Trump said in the debate ought to be the discussion about Haitian immigrants eating dogs and cats. Now, come on. So we just can't go down those rabbit holes. I listened to that debate, and for every question that was asked of Donald John Trump, he reverted back to immigration because that's all he had. He had nothing else but that. We are a large company, $26 trillion gross domestic product. We're only 4% of the population of the world. We got the biggest military. We got a whole lot of issues. We got Gaza. We got Afghan. I'm sorry, the fight with Russia. We got all those kinds of issues that are out there. And if the only thing he gets is to talk about immigration, we understand what that really is about. What that really is about is that certain Eurocentric Americans have controlled this process with people and policy. So now it's catching up. This is not 1950. They're not 90% of the voting public. It's catching up. And so they're concerned about immigration. So he's not concerned about immigration. He's concerned about immigration from those SHIT whole nations. That's what he's concerned about. So I just want to point that out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next we got Imhotep. You had a question coming for us today, Imhotep.
Oh, boy, guys, all my esteemed guests, and I love that, Pastor. Hey, that's my guy. I love. I just want to call on a couple of things. You're completely correct with the immigration issue. I remember I was just graduating from school when NAFTA was passed. And we heard the same talk with NAFTA. Matter of fact, I think Ross Perot said it was going to be a giant sucking sound, if I'm quoting him correct, a giant sucking sound. Then subsequently we've had GATT, we've had CAFTA, and then we had we tried to get the TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, and they derailed President Obama when they tried to pass that, not knowing that it was designed to keep China from controlling the Southeast Corridor. South the Asian Sea, that corridor, which now they do with Timu and all the stuff like that. So let's make no mistake about it. The gentleman that owns the company in Springfield said no one there would work for him. Caucasians and whoever else was there until the Haitians got there. They come to work, and they come to work every day. Matter of fact, they revitalized the industry in Springfield. So these folks that are worried about immigration, whatever, I'm a healthcare professional. I've been in healthcare 30 years. I see who's coming into healthcare. It's been like that for a while. We're getting more people from foreign nations, more African brother and sister. Don't see too many Latinx yet, but definitely African Caribbean people in healthcare, because healthcare is pretty much a recession-proof profession. And so I don't see my younger brothers definitely not coming in. I see still maybe some younger sistren, African-American sistren, but I don't see younger brothers. And that's the ones who are yelling and screaming with Trump, like Pierre may be talking. And it's folly, Pierre. It's folly, because no one I knows. My brother works for Lilly. He doesn't have a problem. He's been there 15 years. Another gentleman I know, people I know work at Lilly. Another gentleman I know started at Allison 3 years ago. Another gentleman I know, these are men in their 50s, started at Rolls-Royce 3 years ago, in their 50s. They're brothers. So they're not having any problems. So I don't want to hear that talk, okay? If you seek, ye shall find. That's a fact. And then lastly, Nate, what about the decision from Pennsylvania saying if those mail-in ballots are not stamped, then they will be invalid? I didn't read all of that, but I'm trying to figure out, is that just a stamp from the post office? Is that what they're meaning? Because, Pennsylvania is in play. And thank you for taking my question.
Well, I got to confess to you, there's so much litigation and so many things going on every day in every state. I don't know the results of the Pennsylvania case. I did watch very briefly what was going on in the Georgia case, which is a travesty. They're trying to steal the election by the election board. The 3 Republicans voted to delay certification, which is a big deal. So it's impossible to try to follow all these cases all over the country. The reason being is that we got to remember, in all these presidential elections, except 1 or 2 during my lifetime, the Democrats actually get plurality of the vote. Like Hillary Clinton, even though she lost the election, she got 3 million more votes. And Donald Trump got beat by 7 million votes. And Obama got majority vote. And even when George Bush ran against the senator from Tennessee the first time, he got 500,000 more votes than Bush did. So the point is that now they've come to realization that they can't win the popular vote, but in order to win the election, you have to suppress or delete voters, which is just a travesty.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, Attorney Lee. I am following North Carolina very closely, where they have put early voting on hold because Robert Kennedy Jr. has won a lawsuit that went up to the North Carolina Supreme Court, and he won this lawsuit to remove his name from the ballot. Now, the ballots have already been produced, and to reprint these ballots is going to cost over $300,000. And this is when I say early voting by mail, right? And more Democrats apparently in North Carolina vote by mail. So all of that is paused right now, while the ballots at significant cost, depending on what counties and jurisdictions you're in, over $300,000 to reprint ballots in some of the counties, and $50,000 in another jurisdiction. And it's just all of these tactics are being used to suppress the vote in this nation.
That's a tragedy. And that was
so much litigation across the country, as you stated, Attorney Lee.
Yeah.
Attorney Lee,
yes.
May I add one other thing quickly? First of all, yes, I conflated the 29th with the 27th. We're fighting for NAACP Freedom Banquets. That's on the 27th. But anyway, let me just add that this is really about funny math. It's not about algebra. It's not about geometry. It's not about calculus. It's not about least squares. It's about trigonomics. That's what this is about. It's the black folks' 3/5 human issue. It's 80% of the people in America living between New York and Missouri. Only 20% living on the other side. And 12% of that is in California, Oregon, and Washington. And yet Wyoming and all those other folks have 2 senators. And so this is about the electoral college. And that is why the phenomenon that you just spoke about is so true. It does not matter about the popular vote if you've done the funny math on electoral college and said the electoral college is the way to get there. So it is clear to me that that the Democrats, if they're going to win, they have to win Pennsylvania, they have to win Michigan, they have to win Wisconsin, they have to probably win Minnesota, and they have to do well in either Nevada or Arizona, and they have to do something in North Carolina or Georgia. That shuts Trump all the way out. And so even though this woman have raised $400, $500, $600 million, that's almost $1 billion. She's absolutely right. She's in a dogfight because the numbers are slanted against it. The math is funny. And so that's the problem that we're facing right now. And I think we have to fight like we're behind if we're going to win and save our democracy, sir.
Well, good point.
We definitely should run like we are the underdog, because we should. I can't state it any better than the pastor just did. So in terms of the numbers, and there was one other thing, with respect to the debate, a couple things. It appeared to me that the former president was allowed to speak longer than Vice President Harris. It just appeared that way to me during the debate. And since you were so focused on it, Nathaniel, and watched it several times, I want to get a sense for your view on that point. And then secondly, when I thought that the commentators did a great job, but fact checking him after he talks for 5 minutes, and I don't mean that literally, right? To me, is after the fact and not as effective as when you fact checked him in the moment, right? Sorry, that is not true. But they let him go on and on. By that point, all his 25 to 40% of this nation that have been radicalized by his rhetoric, right? All they need to hear are those racist tropes. And maybe I should take the position that they're not going to be swayed anyway. But I still think that there's a even more effective way for the media to control him in real time during these debates. And I like the approach from Vice President Harris that let's debate again, but I wouldn't give him any more airtime. Thank you.
Yeah, Vanita, I do believe they timed it, and he had more airtime than she did by, I don't know, 6-4. I guess it was. I don't know. He had more airtime.
He had 5 to 7 minutes more than she did.
I think that the announcer did check him on a lie when it started out, but it did not appear that as the debate went on, they would call him on a lie. But I remember the black lady calling him out on a lie. She said that's not true, at least at the beginning of the debate. And I forgot the question. What amazed me was when they did the interview of the people who started out with their various positions, that at the end, there was, I think, 2 people who came to Harris. But the 2 young minority men, one appeared African-American, the other appeared some Latino descent, they were with Trump. And I don't see how they came out of that debate being supportive of Trump. So people have their minds pretty much made up, it appears. At least many people do. Regardless of
Hey, Milton, what that had to do with, there was three major lies that Trump said, but the one that was most insulting was that Trump said, in a nutshell, that they were doing abortions after baby was born.
Oh, yeah,
So,
that's the one she
He
called.
continues to state that lie.
Yeah, he didn't know the difference between murder and abortion. I mean, in other words, you can't kill a baby after it's born. I'm thinking that's murder. I'm thinking, what lunatic don't even know that? And unfortunately, apparently 30% of the viewers didn't know that if you kill a baby after born, that's murder. You go to jail, you go to prison. You know, it was just astonishing to me that was the biggest thing you got fact checked on. The second issue had to do with, he said that Roe versus Wade had to do with the fact that everybody wanted to change the law. Everybody.
Right.
I'm thinking it was the most ridiculous thing. So he was making these assertions like that. So there's different levels of lies. There's sometimes people make lies, they make mistakes on facts or data. And in this case here, it's a whole new universe of lies. You know, I mean,
it's an intentional lie to say what I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go back to line. Okay, Carly, you have a question for us today or a comment? What's your name?
This is Guy.
Guy, what's your question coming for today, sir?
Yeah, with all the potential lawsuits that are going to be surrounding this election before and after, what is the use of frivolity by the judges? How stringent is that, and what are the how prevalent, I guess, is that when a judge says this is a frivolous lawsuit?
Well, what should typically happen is that they assess costs against a party who they determine filed a frivolous lawsuit. And judges have a lot of discretion on how they do that. Like, for example, one of the things that Attorney Banks discussed earlier was the North Carolina case. And she was talking about the significant costs that would be incurred by the state in terms of reprinting those ballots, hundreds of thousands of ballots, and all the land, the man hours and stuff involved. Well, the court could actually assess the costs against Kennedy for the, because he basically did all the application be on the ballot. Then after the fact, at the last minute, decided to withdraw his name from the ballot. It just tells me how cookie the political process is. We got a guy who claimed that he had worms on his brain. He claimed that he killed, what was it, a deer or something? He buried it in the park. Was it a bear? It was something crazy. So we got a lunatic Kennedy guy running for president. And unfortunately, what he had about 9% of the vote. I'm saying, what are people looking at? This guy is stone crazy.
He's not the only lunatic. You got more than one lunatic.
Yeah, I know.
That's true as well, Guy.
Yeah.
Wow. How did we get here?
And Vice President Harris, she focused on policy during the debate, and it was a marked contrast to her delivery. I want the callers to understand that a $6,000 child care credit is huge. 3.1 million new homes will be built under her administration. And she is proposing a $25,000 tax credit for first-time homeowners. And that would cover a 10% down payment on a medium-priced house in 16 U.S. metropolitan cities across this nation. And 5 of those cities are in swing states.
Hey, Counsel, there's something you said that was so profound, and I don't think most people get this idea of what the child tax credit is. I remember when I served as judge pro tem early in my career back in the early 80s, and I was doing child support cases. in a typical child support case, people paying somewhere between $25 to $50 a week in child support. That's it, right? So $50 a week is what, $2,600, and $25 a week is about $1,300. The child tax credit is amount to $500 per month. So what that does is that lifts people that at the poverty level, it gives them a little bit more time to get out of poverty. What we're doing is that we're pushing people into the middle class. So by giving a new startup business $50,000 in deduction, that's a big deal. By giving credits for new homeowners, there's so many people struggling to try to get homes now, and we have a housing shortage in our city. For example, the rent is out of control. We have institutional investors that bought up all the properties. And now, I found out the other day to stay in a simple apartment here on the west side of Indy was $1,900 a month for a 2-bedroom. I said, $1,900? That's unfathomable. Maybe people in LA like Milton or Chicago have seen that, but that's all new to Indianapolis. I remember my early days staying in an apartment, I paid about $375 a month. That's a long time ago, but man, it was just shocking to me that they charge that much for these small space, and so the home thing is a big deal.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And particularly, as you mentioned, the $50,000 business deduction. Is that a deduction or credit as well? That's going to help entrepreneurs across the country, including barbershops, beauty shops, small business. African-American women, I believe, have shown the largest increase in own businesses. So that is huge. I'm wondering, Attorney Lee, as we continue our discussions next week, whether we can focus on how we can, because I think that it is not true to say that the majority of Black men are not engaged in this election. And so I'm hoping we can spend some time focused on Black men engagement in our upcoming
program
election.
Paid for by Lee, Costello, and Feigley, LLP.
Well, yeah, we'll do that.
Are you competitive when it comes?
Yeah, I radio show time ended now, but what we'll do next, we'll discuss that issue, folks, and we'll deal with the voting habits of African American males. We'll get somebody to come on the show next week, and because we have to explore that, because it's all hands on deck. I like the fact that the Pastor Rush and others are out there knocking on doors, trying to get people registered to vote. And it's going to be a total team effort. So it's going to not be one thing. It's going to be everything that we could do to try to get this election a successful outcome. So Milton, also, we didn't get a chance to talk about LA in your prosecutor's office today, but I'm certainly watching that because I think you probably have the largest court system in the country out there in LA, don't you?
Yeah, we do. We got 50 different courthouses in LA County. 50.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, take care, everyone. Once again, we'll deal with legal issues of the day next Saturday. Thank you, everyone, and thanks for calling in, all our callers. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Attorney Lee.